I, 28 male, am a senior logistics analyst. I've always been the type of person who believes a relationship is a partnership where you carry each other's weight. My fiancée, 27 female, and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. For the last 6 months, the dynamic had shifted into something unrecognizable. She had been promoted to a high-level marketing role, and suddenly my role in the relationship was reduced to being her emotional punching bag and personal assistant. The shift wasn't gradual. It was an overnight transformation into a person who viewed my empathy as a liability. Every time I tried to discuss my day, my stressors, or even just a minor insecurity regarding our declining intimacy, she would shut me down with a coldness that felt surgical. The breaking point happened on a Tuesday night. I had just come home from a 10-hour shift. I sat her down in the living room because I wanted to talk about how isolated I felt. I told her, I feel like I'm the only one invested in the emotional health of this house. I need to feel like my feelings matter to you, too. She didn't even look up from her laptop. She let out a long, jagged sigh, snapped the screen shut, and looked at me with pure disdain. I'm done, she said. I'm done listening to your feelings and your needs. You are far too emotional for a man. It's exhausting. If you want a therapist, hire one. If you want to be with me, man up and stop leaking your emotions all over my evening. I don't have the bandwidth for your sensitivity anymore. Consider this the end of that conversation permanently. I sat there in the silence that followed. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't even raise my voice. The realization hit me that the woman I was planning to marry didn't just lack empathy. She fundamentally lacked respect for my personhood. Noted, I said, that was the last time I shared a single personal thought, dream, or piece of news with her. I became a ghost in my own home. I was polite. I did my share of the chores, and I responded to direct questions with one-word answers. She didn't even seem to notice the change at first. In fact, she seemed relieved. She took my silence as falling in line. She started treating me like a silent background character in a movie of her life. 2 weeks into silent treatment, which she thought was me finally being a man, I received an email. It was a formal offer for a director of operations position in a state 3 time zones away. It came with a 40% raises, a massive relocation package, and a signing bonus that would cover a down payment on a house of my own. Under normal circumstances, I would have burst into the room, popped a bottle of champagne, and asked her how we should handle the move. Instead, I opened the PDF, digitally signed it, and emailed it back within 10 minutes. I began the logistics of my exit with the same clinical efficiency I use at work. Since we lived in a rental and both our names were on the lease, I checked the termination clause. It required 60 days' notice or a steep buyout fee. I also knew her entitlement wasn't just emotional. She had been using my credit card for household expenses that were actually high-end wardrobe updates for her new job. I contacted the landlord and told him I would be vacating. I paid the buyout fee for my half of the lease in secret. I then called my credit card company and reported my card as lost, requesting a new one with a different number to be sent to my office. This effectively cut off her slush fund without a word. When she tried to buy a $1,200 designer bag that weekend, and the card was declined, she came home fuming. Why is the card declined? It's embarrassing, she demanded. I'm handling my finances differently now. I replied, not looking up from my book. Well, fix it. I have a gala next week, she snapped. Noted, I said. I didn't fix it. I spent the next month slowly packing. I didn't use boxes. I moved my smaller, prized possessions to a storage unit during my gym hours. I sold my heavy furniture on various marketplaces, telling her I was decluttering to make the place look better. She was so self-absorbed she didn't realize the items being sold were exclusively mine. The legal reality of our situation was simple. We weren't married. In our state, there is no common law marriage. The engagement ring was a conditional gift, but she had already breached the unspoken contract of the engagement by stating she would no longer participate in a partnership. However, I didn't want the ring back yet. I wanted the timing to be perfect. I scheduled the moving truck for a Friday morning. The same Friday, she had a mandatory power breakfast with her CEO and the board of directors. She had been bragging about this meeting for a month, claiming it was her coronation as a future VP. On Thursday night, she was frantic, looking for her lucky blazer. "Have you seen my navy blazer?" she asked, tearing through the closet. "No," I said. I had already packed it in a donation bin 3 days ago, along with every other gift I had ever bought her that I didn't want her to keep. "You're useless," she muttered. "Whatever. I'll buy a new one in the morning." "The card won't work," I reminded her. "I'll use my own money then." "God, you're so difficult lately," she hissed. She left at 7 a.m. on Friday. The moving truck arrived at 7:15 a.m. By 10:30 a.m., the apartment was half empty. All that remained was her bedroom furniture, her clothes, the ones I hadn't donated, and a single folding chair in the living room. I was standing by the door, finishing the final walkthrough with the landlord, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "Where are you?" "I forgot my tablet, and I'm back at the apartment. Why is there a massive truck outside our building?" I didn't reply. I just waited. I heard her key turn in the lock. The door swung open and she froze. She was wearing her new lucky blazer she must have rushed to buy, but her face went pale as she looked at the cavernous, empty living room. Her eyes darted from the bare walls to the moving men carrying my desk out. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and confusion. "What is going on?" I stood there, hands in my pockets, completely calm. "I'm moving," I said. "Moving? Moving where? We have a lease. We have a life. You can't just move." She stepped toward me, her entitlement flaring up. "Tell them to put my stuff back. Tell them right now." "Nothing of yours is on that truck," I said. "Only my life is on that truck. I resigned from our lease. My half is paid. The landlord is here to take your new lease agreement paperwork or your notice to vacate. It's up to you." The landlord stepped forward, holding a clipboard. "Ma'am, since the primary income earner on the original application has terminated his residency, we need you to requalify for the unit solo by the end of the business day, or we'll have to start the 30-day exit process." She looked at the landlord like he was a bug. "Get out. Get out of my house." She turned back to me, her face contorting. "You're doing this because of that talk? Because I told you to be a man? This is pathetic. This is the most emotional thing you've ever done. You're throwing a tantrum." "Noted," I said. "Where do you think you're going?" she screamed. "You have a job here. You have responsibilities to me." "I don't actually," I replied. "I start as director of operations in Seattle on Monday. My flight is in 4 hours." The realization hit her like a physical blow. The director title, the location, the fact that I had planned this for weeks under her nose while she was busy belittling me. "Seattle," she gasped. You can't leave me here with a full rent. I can't afford this place on my own. My promotion doesn't kick in for 3 months. I'm sure you'll find a way to man up and handle it," I said. "After all, feelings and needs are just distractions, right?" She lunged for my arm, trying to grab me, her nails digging into my jacket. "You owe me. You promised we were a team. You're a coward for not telling me." I stepped back, breaking her grip. "I tried to tell you everything. I tried to share my life with you. You told me you were done listening. So I stopped talking. This is what you asked for. Total emotional independence." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her eyes lit up for a split second, a flicker of that old entitlement. Thinking maybe this was a grand, twisted romantic gesture to get her to behave, I opened the box, took the 2-carat diamond ring out, and put it in my pocket. I handed her the empty box. "The jeweler is meeting me at the airport to buy this back," I said, "since the engagement is officially over. The gift is returned to the donor. That's the law in this state." "I'll sue you," she screamed, her voice cracking. "I'll tell everyone what you did. I'll call your new job. I'll tell them you're unstable." "Go ahead," I said, walking toward the door. "But before you do, you might want to check your email. I sent a little goodbye note to your CEO this morning. Just a few screenshots of the company expenses you put on my personal card, while claiming they were business-related, to get reimbursed twice. I believe they call that expense fraud in your handbook." Her face went from white to a ghostly, translucent gray. You didn't." "I did," I said, stepping into the hallway. "I'm done listening to your feelings about it, though. Safe to say, I think the board meeting went a little differently than you expected." I signaled to the movers. They shut the truck doors with a heavy, final thud. "Enjoy the apartment." I called out over my shoulder. "The rent is due on the 1st.